for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me.
That was perfect.
But I heard every word.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
Well, hello there. Welcome in the Mississippi Live Weather at 10 p.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon on what was a stormy evening for some, and for many, not really a terribly stormy evening. We are unfortunately probably not going to completely kick the rain chances away as we look into the extended forecast as we welcome you into our room-to-room weather center on this Saturday evening. Certainly the heat is a big part of the story, but I think we're drying things out overnight. Unfortunately, I can only go dry-ish on your Sunday and also for Monday, and that is a change we have had to tweak on the forecast looking in the next week because projections, all of them, have at least some rainfall chances there. So we'll look at when those could arrive here in a couple minutes. I think dangerous heat building back into the area, and how does that then work in inflection with our rain chances and hopefully maybe holding that down a little bit. At least there's some hope, even though I think still the heat is going to largely rule. More significant rain chances come next week. Again, I mentioned some spotty ones tomorrow and Monday, but much more significant ones as we go deeper into next week, especially late next week as those rain chances get a lot more likely. Outside this evening as of about 10:01, we're looking right now at 75 degrees in Tupelo. Feels like temperature sitting at 73. Of course, that rain cooled air moved through as some spotty showers, not really adding up to a ton in the rain gauge. In Cleveland, new camera. Appreciate the good folks there at North Mississippi Storm Chasers. This one coming up online this evening, giving us yet another great look at the Delta as storms continue to work their way west or east through the area. Eventually, of course, that's what we'll be looking at. And down at the Crossroads Museum, or I guess up at the Crossroads Museum, coming in 77 degrees at this hour in Corinth, where we have had a few showers in and around the area over the last couple of hours. As you can see there on our radar image, the small one there in the corner, not a lot detected at this point here. As we look at the first 12, those temperatures are going to be dropping from the upper 70s now, probably mid-70s by 2 o'clock in the morning. And I expect we'll probably be mid-70s, maybe low 70s to begin the day under what should be partly cloudy skies. Could have some patches of fog out there around the area to begin the day. We're 80 by 8 a.m., 90 by 11. So obviously while you're in church, it heats up a lot. And that means that heat index by the time you're heading to lunch expected to probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 degrees for a lot of spots. Looking at Mississippi Live Weather Radar, not a lot out there at this point. Certainly on the longer loop here, if you give me a moment to pop that up, we had a lot more thunderstorms earlier today working from south to north. We've used up a lot of the available fuel, and so those have largely died as we've gone into this evening. Bigger story continues to be this high pressure center back out there toward Florida. That's an important part of our forecast because what that is going to do is that is going to build toward us. As it does, we're going to continue to probably have our forecast become hotter. See, this is going to build west like this, right? As it does, we'll continue the next couple of days to have winds around that are out of a southerly direction. So that means, again, bringing up warm and moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. But that's also, if we clear that out there, going to end up shifting things just a little bit. So what we have out there, this kind of flare up of thunderstorms today, is going to kind of rotate around that. So that means that will clear us out to a certain extent and bring in somewhat drier air. But this is a dirty ridge, meaning there's still moisture there, so it doesn't do a great job of completely wiping it out. So we're going to continue to have some chances into the forecast because of that. So as this high pressure center kind of builds into and toward our area, obviously the heat will follow suit as well. As we look at futurecasts here into the overnight hours, our showers basically all out of here. That ridge building west, I mean, not obviously a big impact to us overnight, as we should stay dry with some clouds out there to begin the day on your Sunday. But as we go toward afternoon, notice this gets closer. It might not look like a huge difference there, but that over that period of time will have moved about 300 or 400 miles. So a significant shift in our overall pattern that largely keeps us in a drier zone. Now we're still going to have partly cloudy skies, and you'll notice here as we go toward tomorrow, maybe some limited rain chances, but I'm going to go 20% as we look at the next 24 hours here for tomorrow in the afternoon. So from 74, that low temperature in the morning, to 84 degrees by 9 a.m., 92 by noontime, and then mid-90s as we head toward afternoon. Rain coverage only 20%, probably sitting about that same value as we look into Monday as well. And that heat index over 100, putting us under those heat advisories once again, which unfortunately have been a big part of the story recently. Coming up here in 60 seconds, we'll look at that wet bulb glow temperature and just how extreme some of that heat is going to get, as we also analyze those rain chances coming up a little bit more for your Monday. That as Mississippi Live Weather at 10 continues.
You need some help?
Your tow chains are a little loose. Could spark a wildfire. I could show you how to secure them properly if you'd like.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Anytime. You should check out SmokeyBear.com. They've got a bunch of tips on wildfire prevention.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobheim.
Well, welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 10. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. We appreciate all y'all for staying up with us late on this Saturday evening. Obviously, we had some thunderstorms around. Those have largely diminished. We don't expect a whole lot of redevelopment overnight, thankfully. Looking at the current alerts, they are all heat advisory related. Everybody involved. I did just kind of point out there, Lowndes County, there's a slight difference that makes very little difference for most of us. As you can see, our most recent one in effect through at least, and that's an important phrase there, at least 8 p.m. on your Sunday. Again, there's an area here, the National Weather Service in Jackson, from Grenada County back out here, Webster, Clay, to Lowndes County southward. Those locations, 8 p.m. what they're going, and the folks up at the National Weather Service in Memphis keeping theirs until 9 p.m. on your Sunday. Will these be extended? I think it's highly likely that they will. And as we've talked about recently a number of times, it's important to remember what these are based on. We have heat advisories when the heat indices are expected to be greater than 105 degrees for 2+ hours. That's the case for tomorrow. We go to a heat warning, or I prefer the terminology that at one point was used in the past, which is excessive heat warning. It's not just warning that it's hot, but it's that it's excessive. It is dangerous, and that is the case when those heat indices are expected to be 110 or greater for any time, and certainly that is looking like the case for a number of days going forward this week. We'll look at that heat stress index, going back to what we call the wet bulb globe temperature. Weird name. We'll get used to talking more about it, and certainly Gabe has been doing that recently. So from 76 at 7 a.m. will be 92 by noon and mid-90s on the way by your afternoon on Sunday. There's that rain coverage around 20%. I don't know that has a big impact on the temperatures, but if you're lucky enough to see some rain cooled air, hopefully it's not just the stuff that covers the ground and then immediately goes up to steam, which certainly we're kind of feeling close to that. Those west-southwest winds, again, bringing in that moisture from down around the Gulf of Mexico. Here is the story again, that wet bulb globe temperature, and pay attention to this phrase here, heat injury risk. That's important because that is the reason why this is in effect in issues, because the risk of heat injuries is going to be greatest when you're in these red and in particular black levels here. And so there's actually a scale that coaches and band directors, cheerleading squad leaders, those folks go by on how long they can practice outside. When you're in the black zone, and not a lot of us will be, but a few of us will be back toward Greenville and Belzona for tomorrow, that is when you don't need to be doing any outdoor practicing. And certainly 3 to 4 o'clock, we're in that zone for tomorrow. Notice by Monday, this is the difference. See how much greater it is? Almost all of us are in that zone where, again, in the afternoon, peak heating, we don't need to be doing any extended outdoor activities and certainly nothing of exertion. I know there are people that work in construction and other jobs that require you, lawn care, to be outside and things that I'm not even thinking of. Are there going to be issues? Yeah, you could make a real argument that there will be some heat stress issues for your Monday as well as for your Tuesday. Notice this is probably the greatest extent. Everyone in the black, where we shouldn't be doing any outdoor exertion if we can, because the risk of heat injury is the greatest. As we look toward 3 p.m. on your Tuesday, we will still have some locations where that's problematic even into the evening. So if you got to do it, I mean, listen, my lawn's getting high. I went out of the country for a while. Luckily, we didn't see a lot of rainfall, but it started to get high in spots. If I'm going to mow, if you're going to mow, we need to do it almost instantly in the morning. I know that makes it to where it doesn't get as even of a cut. Not worth the danger late in the evening, because we're going to continue to be very steamy even late into the evening with this setup. You can see things do improve a little bit by your Wednesday as we start to see better rain chances, hopefully limiting this somewhat more as we go toward your Thursdays, you can see here. So the day we probably want to avoid, if we can choose, and that's not always the case, but if we can choose those outdoor activities and when we're doing those, the day to probably avoid is going to end up being Tuesday. That's probably the peak of our heat. So looking at Futurecast here, you'll notice we find ourselves mainly in the dry category overnight for tonight. Again, all the showers from earlier pretty much gone, pretty much out of here, as we should stay mostly dry overnight. There will be some clouds out there, but not talking about much or anything in the way of precipitation from those. This does depict a couple little sprinkles. It's residual stuff. Not very high on our scale, is it? So as we go into and through your Sunday, we expect those chances to pick up a little bit more by afternoon, but not as much as what we had for today. Low temperatures Sunday morning, about 74 Amory and Columbus, about 73 we show in Bruce. I mean, this is pretty close to our normal, our 30-year average for this time of year, so we shouldn't be shocked to find them this kind of a mild of a beginning to the day. As we head through the day, though, again, fairly dry, 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, though we do show a couple of showers there depicted on the latest version of our HRRR model here. So again, a greater quantity than what we were looking at earlier. That's one of the things we talked about at the top of the broadcast, that some of our projections have, unfortunately, slightly greater chances. Or fortunately, if you've got a lawn, or in particular, you got a garden that needs some rainfall, the rain's still very, very spotty. I wouldn't be necessarily counting on it. You're probably doing your own watering, and this version of Futurecast, you can see, just hits that peak heating there and depicts a couple of these isolated storms around the Golden Triangle. So that's where that 20% comes in. Projections had shown a few more back in the northwest part of the state. Not as convinced on that over the last couple of runs on our Futurecast there. So high temperatures on your Sunday, 95 Tupelo and Amory, about 96 degrees in the Starkville area, 98 Greenville, 94 Tunica, and it's about 93 degrees we show in Senatobia, though you're going to be about 104 for that heat index. Now I'm just cherry picking time here, just picking time off the map. We show 106 there, Tunica, 107 Clarksdale. Certainly the heat stress, the heat index, obviously going to be highest out to the west. Though this doesn't get quite there, we show 99 Iuka and Red Bay. That's probably a little optimistic if we're honest on that. Futurecast into your Sunday evening, mainly dry. Again, extending the HRRR model, our projection there once again as we go into your Sunday. Let's go and wind things out. On the wider shot here, again, this is where the changes start. See this high pressure center down there into the Gulf of Mexico. See how it starts shifting northward a little bit. We have wind that is primarily off of land, obviously, because it's land, right? Out in Arkansas. Where's there more moisture? Arkansas or the Gulf of Mexico? In the Gulf, right? So we have some moisture up here that's kind of trapped, but this is trying to produce some sinking air to keep us dry. But notice we're just far enough removed from that up here to kind of western Tennessee. We start showing some showers there. It's a sign that this is a relatively dirty ridge, meaning there's still moisture there. If you think a clean ridge clears out the skies where they're clean and dry, that's not the case in this. It's more of a dirty ridge where we just have some moisture that lingers. And so we do still have kind of this wave of energy there on the northeast side, and that's where that slightly greater chance for a few of these possible showers and thunderstorms going into your Monday are the case. So notice here, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, we're showing a couple of showers. That was not something that I was terribly confident. We did have it in our exclusive strike model at 6 o'clock. I didn't fully buy it, but I'll be honest, when we look at Futurecast here in our HRRR model, it's also showing some of these spotty showers and thunderstorms on Monday. So I'm going 20% on that rain coverage, but as you can see there, that's a little higher than that, probably 20 to 30%, some spotty showers. Cross our fingers. If we can get some storms out there, some rainfall, maybe it knocks that heat index where it's not as bad. Maybe that helps out that wet bulb globe temperature where it isn't as bad. You either are extremely hot or you have the rainfall. You typically don't get all those, but those rain chances still pretty spotty there. So we're certainly hoping. We show Belzona coming in at a high temperature of 100 degrees on your Monday, 101 Greenville, 97 Cleveland, 99 degrees in Greenwood, and 97 in Tupelo. Obviously out here, Clarksdale, Greenwood, Belzona, Greenville, you're up there within a degree or so of that heat index crossing over 110. That's why I think it's reasonable we will have some spots here under those heat warnings, excessive heat warnings, however you want to describe that there, where the heat stress is the greatest. And as we talked about just a moment ago, that's the reason why that wet bulb glow temperature where you want to go outside and you can't because you shouldn't, because you don't want to overexert yourself, that's why that's so great. Monday and Tuesday, the most significant impacts related to that there. So as we look at your hour-by-hour forecast on your Sunday, we'll go 76 at 7 a.m. Obviously low temperature there, about 5:30 in the morning, about 74. So as soon as that sun comes up, those temperatures start increasing. We're 92 by noon, 94 degrees by your afternoon. As we look at that 7-day forecast, I have had to introduce a rain coverage at 20% there. I might be underdoing it, honestly. If you're looking at what we had on Futurecast a moment ago, that might be a little bit low. We're 20% or so again on Tuesday. So I'm doing the forecast tomorrow here at 6 and 10 o'clock. So when I'm looking ahead at what I might have to change, those two numbers might have to come up. Hopefully that's the case, because then maybe we could take those two numbers down a little bit. I don't think that Northeast Mississippi crosses the triple-digit point. We need dry air for that to happen. It happens so infrequently here, so I just don't think we quite get to that threshold. I'm not sure that anybody necessarily does, but the heat index will be 110 or so for some spots. So what it feels like, what it impacts you when you sweat, and the fact that you can't cool yourself off, yeah, we're going to still have those issues probably through Wednesday. I'm going to probably tomorrow have to take this number down a little bit more if we continue to kind of look at this and show the rain chances increasing. Now, we do have decent rain chances late next week, and we're watching our next possibly more substantial frontal chance arriving then, and then that would obviously increase these rain chances. We've been just so spotty for the last about week and a half that some folks have seen rainfall and a lot of folks haven't, and so we need probably in a lot of locations a bit more rain than we've necessarily seen. We'll probably look at that again tomorrow as well compared to the last 30 days. There are some spots that are only about a quarter what we typically see this time of year, which is not necessarily our most plentiful rainfall chances over the course of the year. I think I have it in here next. We'll show this graphic, of course, reminding you, MississippiLiveWeather.com, MSLiveWeather.com, where you can send in your comments. We did do an upgrade to our app today, and in the app, of course, you can send in your weather photographs. Oops, it looks like I left that in there from before, so we'll see if it'll let me skip past that. There we go. Wanted to get to some of your weather pictures as we looked out this evening. Now, this shot here from Don and Karen in Boonville, sent in using the Mississippi Live Weather app. That's the way all these are sent in. The cool thing about this is that we call crepuscular rays. And so you see how you kind of have the dark spot there and the bright spot. The way this happens, and it's not these clouds there, it's actually farther away than even these clouds. You have basically the shadow of the top of a thunderstorm, kind of the part that's poking up, and it's covering up the sunlight. So you're looking at the rays of light, and then the shadow there is where it's most effectively kind of covering up some of those rays of light. And then, there's kind of an area where there's not thunderstorms. That's where you get that ray. So it's actually beyond where these are, but we call these crepuscular rays. Pretty awesome. Now, the interesting thing, and here's your challenge, and hopefully I can see it when we do this, but the challenge to you is the flip side of this, right? So if I'm getting the crepuscular rays kind of come in this direction, right? Sometimes, if you look back the opposite way, you typically have to look up to see it. You can still see the rays going over top of you where they look like they're converging. So this is expanding as it comes toward you to kind of give it the full height of or full width of the thunderstorms. But then if you look back the opposite direction, sometimes it'll look like the rays are converging once again. This has to do with curvature of Earth and optics, but it's a cool thing. We call those anti-crepuscular rays. So challenge to you with these spotty storms is if you can get us the shot where it looks like the rays are converging, but we're not seeing the clouds there. So anyway, appreciate Dawn and Karen there in Boonville. I'll start blabbing on about that for a long time. I have not made it to one of our lakes this year. I've got to get that done. I know we're running out of days here. We were looking at, to do the water park, I think in Fayette, Alabama. I'm probably gonna try to do that with my family the next weekend. I think we got one more weekend left on that. I'm sure it's gonna be covered up. But that's unfortunately getting this set up. We missed a lot of those opportunities this summer, but I'm glad to see Maddie there at Cedar Creek Lake did not miss the opportunity. And Valerie and Crawford with one of those isolated showers. What I find cool about this, let me see if it'll let me zoom this in. Yeah, it does. Okay, so you see this right there, how you have this kind of falling down. That's precipitation falling out of the higher part here. That's why it's so fuzzy there. A typical storm that we have pops up and collapses in about 45 minutes. So this is in the glaciated, it's collapsing phase. Anytime you see kind of the sharper, let's see if is there a shot place in there? Okay, I'm gonna zoom past this storm way back here. You see how it's a little more sharp there? That's a sign that this is still building up. But if you look at the top of this storm way up here, it's real fuzzy, right? Really fuzzy. It's because it's already started the process of collapsing. And so what makes just a regular storm like this different than a supercell thunderstorm is because what is going up gets messed up with what's coming back down. So in this case, it was trying to still build up, but it was getting contaminated by the rain falling back into it. So it gets real fuzzy and just collapses. That's what kills most thunderstorms. What makes a supercell thunderstorm different, and we'll look at some of those pictures once we get back into that sort of season, is it does an effective job of keeping what's up separate of what's coming down. So what we call air mass thunderstorms like this, that's why they typically have the look like that. Of course, if you would like to share your pictures with us, probably the easiest way to do that is using the Mississippi Live Weather app, free and available for all of those various devices. Of course, we had that upgrade to the app today that actually released yesterday. iOS users, if you're watching us on an Apple device, if you go to the App Store and you look up MS Live Weather, you'll be able to click update there. You should do that. Here's why. Because the app had a battery issue, and if you've noticed your battery going down more quickly, you're not alone. I noticed it on my device. So this iOS update fixes that. It does not fix one of the radar quirks that we had, but it does fix, as we mentioned, the unfortunate issue where it also was using, honestly, quite a bit of data with that as well. So those two things fixed in the app update. So highly recommend, if you're willing, that you should probably think about going ahead and downloading that updated app there. But again, I thank you for watching Mississippi Live Weather at 10 o'clock. Of course, we'll be looking in more detail at some of those rain chances for tomorrow as in the app, as well as, if necessary, we don't expect severe weather out of them. We always do those live streams. I have the ability to do it right here in between the broadcasts. I'll take a second here right before we go, and I'll check and see if there's any good questions here coming on through. A lot of folks looking at, mentioning thanks on talking about this stuff. Water bottles, important. The heat index, the reason there's an extra heat stress is when your body cannot cool itself down. You sweat to cool off, not just to stink. You sweat to cool off, and when that sweat can't evaporate, your body can't cool itself down. And when the heat index is high, there's too much moisture in the air for your sweat to effectively evaporate. So that's one of the issues, where we have something. Tanner mentioning we need a cold front. I'll be honest, we had good cold air when I was up in Canada. Wish we could have brought some of it down. The fact that I was in a sweater for that long, certainly an anomaly for this time of year. So appreciate all of you for your comments on Facebook, on YouTube. We've had a number of folks today asking about closed captioning. The closed captioning is there natively on YouTube. In the other areas, it's probably going to take some time before we can do that. And I promised someone today in an email, I'm going to try to start talking just a little bit slower since we do have, obviously, more time in this format available. Because, man, I'm good at talking, unfortunately. 10:23, y'all have a good night, and we will see you back here at 6 o'clock tomorrow for Mississippi Live Weather. A reminder, we are live every day at 6 and 10, but we also, on Monday through Friday, are live at 5 o'clock, same time. You're used to watching us on the other thing. You can watch us here. Keep it here for the latest, and we appreciate y'all for downloading the app.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lopon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lopon has proven himself trustworthy.